Hello, welcome to the 9th day of July 2025. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation, an exercise that I do each and every day, a little bit after waking up, to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone, which you can read for free at goingalone.org. I also use this time to think about the last 24 hours and how I did with the challenges and the opportunities that I met. I recite the 8 objectives of my creed. I prepare for the coming day. But first, a quick welcome and greeting to new subscribers to the channel. It's good to have you here. A quick note that though this video is taking place in Japan, this is not about Japan. This is it's a personal journal entry. So I'll be talking about my own life and trying to tune and improve myself to prepare to make today a good day. All right. I want to say a big thank you to those that subscribe to my channel, and those who watch my videos in particular, and those who support me via membership and Patreon. I really appreciate it. You help to provide the free time that I am attempting to utilize well. All right. With that in mind, let's do a quick check of the temperature and humidity. It looks like it's just at 26 degrees right now, with about 85% humidity. So the humidity is, I've been keeping track of this pretty clearly. The humidity should drop down into the green 70 range within a couple of hours as the temperature begins to rise. I'm expecting it to get up above 35 today. It's going to be another hot one. But enough of that. Let's begin. First, last 24 hours. The only note that I have here is a very comprehensive one. It simply says, a very routine day. And what is meant by that is nothing more than what it states. I set out yesterday with a plan. And let's just take a look at what yesterday's plan was. To garden, to work in the garden. Well, with that in mind, that one idea of working in the garden was the decided purpose of the day. There's lots of things that I do throughout the day that are routine, that I don't need to discuss or enumerate or even review, such as going out and doing radio exercise, having breakfast, walking the dogs, and having lunch with Dad, the routine things that I do. We did all of those things. So the reason it felt like a very routine day was that the time was quite full from 4 a.m. until I went to bed around 8:30 with routine activities, including some what's becoming, thankfully, more routine work in the garden. I'm happy to report that my new garden suit that I wear, that looks like a hazmat suit, but it really isn't. There was a comment yesterday from someone who suggested that it was a hazmat suit and it must be very hot. It's actually a garden suit that looks like a hazmat suit. It's this white outfit. The white kind of dissuades the mosquitoes from attacking, and it's porous to both air and water. And since I simply wear a swimsuit underneath it, and my garden is beside a river, I can literally climb down the stairs and dip myself in the river anytime and then come back out, and it's quite refreshing. So I took on the garden yesterday in the very hottest part of the day, around 2 p.m., 1:30, 2 p.m. I got out there, and I did well. I met my objective, which was to continue clearing the weeds from where the bamboo forest trail comes out under the garden. I cleared a path all the way to the river ladder. And I didn't suffer any undue effects. I went down and dipped myself in the river twice to relieve myself of the heat, literally by just flowing it off my body, and drank lots of water. I felt good. Before I started the video today, I sat here on my chair and thought, because it seemed like yesterday was devoid of anything of interest to talk about. Because it was such a routine day. There's a big spider. And I guess if I haven't got anything, I haven't got anything, have I? So I'll just leave it at that. Okay, let's go ahead and go over the creed. The 8 objectives of my creed are as follows. Number 1, to be always ready to die. That means I need to have a good, organized household, namely my papers for all of the things that will sustain my wife after I'm gone, namely our bank accounts, pension, Social Security, all that kind of stuff. 2 is to make good, the second part of that is to make sure I have good relationships. And the third part of that is to make sure my life's work is in a good shape, and they all are. My second objective is to make good and effective use of my time so that I'm not wasting my days. Yesterday was a good use of time. It was Tuesday, and I made good use of time yesterday. And Monday, I made really good use of time on Monday. I ain't messing around right now. I feel like I've, that's not a feeling, this is a thought. I have definitely reached the other side of settling in Japan. The process of getting here and settling down is done. Now it's a matter of establishing and building the life that I want to live in this time that I have remaining. Yesterday was a good use of time, really fulfilled the second objective. Number 3 is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles, precisely those which are outlined in my book. Number 4 is to cultivate good emotional reactions relative to my creed. No, I messed that up. I guess I am a little bit, my brain's a little fogged from yesterday. Because that's I usually wouldn't mess that up. I conflated two objectives there, didn't I? Number 4 and number 5. I guess yesterday's super ambitious day in the garden did have an impact on me. But boy, I feel good. It's almost like the effort that I put into the bodily effort that I did took away from the mental capability. Boy, there is a lot of activity going on over here. There's a big spider there I saw. There's a big giant cicada I can see on a leaf over there. A giant beetle just flew past, and there's a giant hornet right now making its way through the trees. Jeez, it's a really wild event going on right here right now. Back to it. So I conflated number 4 and number 5. Number 4 is to make good and effective use of. So number 4 is to hold on. Always ready to die. To make good and effective use of time. To develop and maintain good and sound life. To cultivate good emotional reactions. Yes, I said to cultivate good emotional reactions, and then I added according to my creed. Well, I guess that's partially true, but really what I mean by that is to cultivate good emotional reactions. I found something to linger on a little bit. To cultivate good emotional reactions so that I'm operating in a more staid and controlled manner through the day. Now, there was something that happened yesterday relative to that. I'm a talkative guy by nature. But ever since coming back to Japan and retiring, I've become less so. Especially when I'm out and about in the community. This started when I discovered that I couldn't drive very well here. And I needed to wrestle back a degree of mindfulness when I'm driving by not talking to people while I'm driving. And everyone is used to that now. When we drive around, I typically drive, I am silent for the most part. I just turn the radio on, in the Japanese radio on, and I'm very careful not to listen to my own music anymore. I don't play my stuff, and I don't listen to podcasts. I simply pay attention to the road, and I think about where I'm driving, and I think about navigating my way around, which still is a hardy challenge for me. Everyone else around me seems to know the way to everywhere we need to go except me. And I'm constantly messing up. Now, sure, I can put it in the navigation app and I can use that. But even then, I still mess up. So, I'm finding that I can leverage this into something really interesting, which is in the past, if I wasn't my chatty self while driving, the people in my life would think something's wrong because I'm a chatty guy. Believe it or not, I am a chatty guy. You wouldn't know it. Not in the last 3 or 4 months. But I've made it clear to everybody that when I'm driving, I'm not chatty. When I'm driving, I'm driving. If you want to talk, wait till we get to the restaurant. I mean, I'll respond to people, but I will even almost go so far. This hasn't happened yet, but I will almost go so far. This hasn't happened, but I'm waiting for the day that it happens. If someone wants to talk to me bad enough while I'm driving, and I think I need my mental horsepower. By horsepower, simply means I need to really seriously attend to what they're saying. I'll turn the signal on. Now there's convenience stores literally everywhere in Japan. I'll turn the signal on and pull over into the parking lot of the nearest convenience store, park the car, put it in park, apply the emergency brake, and give them my full attention while I'm not driving. I haven't done that yet. I'm sure that will surprise anyone if and when I ever do that. And the only reason I would be doing that is to protect us all from my inability to multitask. Like, if you want to talk to me now and you can't wait till the restaurant or wherever we're going, then give me just a second while I pull to the side of the road somewhere so that I can give you my undivided attention. So how does that relate to objective number 4, which is good emotional reactions? Yesterday was interesting, and I've noticed this a couple of times in the last few weeks. This happened, and it happened yesterday. Now that I have an operating standard whereby I'm not talking to people when I'm driving, now that I have that in play, I'm using that even when I don't need it. Like yesterday, Yumiko and I made a drive to a couple of routine places. Jumbo Encho was one, the hardware store. We also made a drive to Don Quixote, which is like a everything in the world store. And we made a drive to Kuroneko shipping, which I had never been to. It was an office that I'd never been to. So we kicked the day off. We did it in the reverse order. We went to Kuroneko first, then we went to Jumbo Encho, then we went to Don Quixote. I didn't know how to get to the first place. So we plugged that into the navigation app. And of course, even plugged into the navigation app, even watching the dang thing, I messed it up because I just can't drive anymore. I messed it up and I wound up going over a bridge over the entire railroad system in Japan into another part of town. I mean, I messed it up in such a way as to be colossal and spectacular all at once. And now, hashtag objective number 4, good emotional reactions. I realized the mistake I'd made at a junction where I should have gone to the left, but I made a right to go over, which would lead me over the bridge, right? And it's one of those things that it's like making a wrong turn onto the freeway when you're just doing the local traffic. Well, now you're on the freeway, right? There's nothing you can do about that, but go to the next freeway off-ramp, get off the freeway, and try to reconcile and figure this out. So I realized immediately what I'd done. I said out loud to my wife, whoops, there's a dragonfly, a big dragonfly. I said, whoops, I went the wrong way. Now my wife is very patient and very much aware of my challenges. She said something simply as plain as, oh yes, I see, or something like that. Now, Yumiko's very patient with me and understanding of such things. Here comes a hornet. It's great. I just love this balcony. It's like living at the edge of an insect zoo. And I proceeded to make a few more mistakes, but finally got us to where we were going. Now, that had set me into the mood of paying close attention. I was paying close attention, and I still made several mistakes. Now, once we had got to the Koroneco place and we did the postal drop-off stuff, now we needed to go to Jumbo Encho next, which I knew exactly how to get to. It's just down the street. But I smuggled in the silence. And then after Jumbo Encho, I smuggled in the silence to Don Quixote. And while I was so silent, so deliberately silent, I noticed that there was a change that would come around where I think in the past, for all of my life, I've been this talkity, chatty guy to mask, conceal, and run away from my discomfort with quietude. Being noisy. La 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 la, so that I don't have to see this. Now in my book, Going Alone, there's a principle called distraction, and I use that principle to describe what's done in order to avoid seeing the emptiness that seemingly pervades the universe. So it's a stretch to take that one to say that I was also talking all my life to keep myself from having to deal with the silence for whatever reason. In this case, I don't think it was anything like not have to deal with the silence of what the thoughts that would come, but instead because I just wasn't comfortable with the silence. I'd never learned to be at peace in company with others when there's no one talking. That's probably just part of my culture and part of the way I was raised. Not blaming anybody, it's just the way I was. But that's changed now. I can also be quiet when I'm having meals with my family. For example, at lunchtime, with Dad. I try not to, if I'm going to talk at all, I talk in Japanese, speak in Japanese, so that my father-in-law he doesn't speak a lick of English, so he doesn't feel left out. If Yumiko and I have things that we need to talk about in English, which is the language that we use as a couple, then we'll talk about it another time when it's just the two of us. All that by way of exploring objective number 4, cultivating good emotional reactions. I reacted well when I made the mistake, and I reacted well when I made the mistake driving yesterday, and I reacted well when I was liberated of much of the risk of making a mistake, and instead decided to simply be quiet, to let that be. I was pleased with that. All right, now objective number 5 is to to do good deeds relative to my creed. Number 6 is to recognize my true limits and true opportunities. Number 7 is to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. I'm doing that in the garden. When I'm out in the garden, I'm making a point. I don't know how long I'll keep this up. It's kind of an experiment to not listen to radio, not listen to podcasts, not have any earphones in my ear, just to focus on the gardening, which is interesting, has interesting results. Time passes very nicely. And then my last objective is to keep my balance in both my body and mind. All right, let's read a principle. I think I'm already at principle number 35, which is the last principle in the book. It is. Principle that probably kind of sounds like a nod to the Boy Scouts. It's called simply be ready. Reading. Be prepared at all times for anything and nothing. Regarding anything, be especially ready for the big things with enduring consequences like education, marriage, children, and old age. Go as far as you can with your education. That you study is more important than what you study. Pick someone who shares your core values. Looks, hobbies, and all the rest are secondary. Each of your children gets at least 23 years of your life. Be ready for that. Regarding nothing, be ready for peace. It's harder than it seems. Maybe that last line resounds a little bit with the experience of retirement. It is harder than it seems. That certainly wasn't what I had in mind when I wrote that, though. Okay, as for the next 24 hours, well, I actually have two ideas. My default choice is going to be the garden. I'm going to continue to work around the edges of the vegetable patch. But I didn't check with Yumiko yesterday. If she doesn't need the car today, I might take Rudy and go out into the mountains for another adventure like I had on Monday. That was very fruitful and very good experience. Very fun. Really enjoyed it. All right, let's read comments. Hi, Michael. Hi, Tim. Good morning. Sometimes I like a routine day, or as I call it, a chill day. Still get lots done, but no stress attached to them. I was on my early morning walk today and bumped into a guy doing the same thing. Normally we just say hi, but I got chatting more today, and he mentioned he'd been retired 26 years. Took a moment to think. Wow, what would it be like to be retired? That must be a good third of his life, right? Be interesting to I would love to take the two of you, Tim and that gentleman, out for coffee. And wouldn't you love that, Tim, to buy him coffee or a beer or whatever he likes, and pick his brain a little bit? Assuming it was, you said it was a guy, So I asked I'm glad you asked questions. So I asked how old he was, and he replied 81. I was in awe, as each time I saw him each morning, I thought he was around my age. Fantastic. Wow. So he's been retired 26 years and he's 81. Retired at a nice young age. That's one thing I've noticed in retirement, is the less desire to have background noise, TV, radio, etc. I bought a Walkman player to play music when walking and never used it. Prefer the quiet stillness. That's happening to me as well, Tim. I'm 2 years behind you, and learning from your experience. And now each of us have this senpai that's 24 years ahead of me, 24 years ahead of you, and 25 and a half years ahead of me. I wonder what we can learn from him, what's coming. I have noticed this, though. The older people that are deeper into retirement, they seem to kind of have like they're on a distant ship, another sailing. I'm reading Moby Dick still. Like on another sailing ship far off in the distance, and they have little to no communication or need or interest in communicating with the likes of us who are still all in the fray. They'll talk to us like your friend did yesterday, but for the most part, they're content in whatever world they now live in. It's intriguing to me. I wanna join that world. I feel like this radio exercise team that I'm a part of now. They're maybe my entree into that world here. Evelyn. I love the quiet. Good morning, Evelyn. I love the quiet. Too much noise and clutter in the world these days. In fact, for years, the doctor has been encouraging me to get hearing aids because I keep failing the test. Nope, I'm good. What an interesting idea. I like that. That resounds with me too. I'm good. Thanks, Evelyn, for sharing that. Robert. Hi, Robert. Gerald. Hi, Gerald. Hello, Kurt. Have a great, fruitful day, my friend. Thank you. Your package, I hope your package arrived. Evelyn says, hi, Robert and everyone. All right. Well, maybe a kind of a short one today. I'm going to sign off for now. I've been sitting here. The porch is just, the day is so nice. And I'm a slow reader. I've been making real good headway through Moby Dick. Right now, there's this scene of the slaughter of this would be the second whale after meeting the ship called the Virgin. And it's interesting how this book is this is the second time I've read it. I read it in my 20s before, and I don't remember all of the asides that Melville was making. Melville had a lot to say about his contemporary world in Moby Dick that I totally missed in my 20s. In my 20s, I was looking for the adventure in the story. Now I'm reading all of the asides. Like, for example, I was just reading, I actually highlighted it in yellow because it caught my eye. I was just reading, again, this is the chapter titled The Pequod Meets the Virgin. And and he's talking about the they're commenting on the suffering. I guess I'm not quite done. They're commenting, and Melville in through the voice of Ishmael is commenting about the destruction of the great whale, this huge sperm whale that they had captured, that was a huge male bull whale that was at the following up the herd of like 8 or 9 smaller whales as the whales were trying to escape the 2 ships that were coming after them, and what was it, 6 whale boats that were coming after them, and the one bigger whale, this big bull that for some reason couldn't quite keep up, and it was falling behind. And they got it, and the three whale boats from the Pequod surrounded it and were, throwing the harpoons into the whale, and they couldn't get the death strike, right? I mean, where the death strike comes when the spout starts blowing blood. And Melville, using Ishmael's voice, is describing the horrible suffering of the whale, diving deep, fathoming down, sounding, reaching the end, and then the 3 boats above are holding it with the 3 lines dug in, and you're picturing the whale at depth, and then the 3 boats above, and the whale is writhing in pain down there, and how the whale comes back up, and that's the point that I get to. The whale comes back up, and Fisk, one of the harpooners, notices a great boil, a sore spot on the side of the whale, and decides to lance it to see what will happen. And Starbuck, the first mate, says, no, nothing of that, because he knows that's just abject suffering, right? Fisk is going to why cause the whale the suffering? Let's kill this whale and get his misery over with. Humane Starbuck is saying, but Fisk does it anyway, and for his trouble, turns out, the whale upends Fisk's boat and sends the man into the sea. Turns out the reason that there was that boil was that there was an incomplete harpoon buried inside the body of the whale, and that was the boiling lance. I mean, the what do you call it? When you have something, festering infection, and that was what it was. And so, it's really a hard chapter to read, because Ishmael, through using Melville, is telling us, Melville had experienced such things. He had been a whaleman. He's telling us in excruciating detail the suffering of the whale. And I'm always, throughout the book, you can't help but notice these little things that Melville puts in that reveal his liberal-minded, and by liberal I mean lowercase l. I'm not talking about political liberalism. I'm talking about, the Enlightenment period type of a liberalism. His liberal mind, talking about the ethics of whaling, the brutality of humans. You get his own sense of it. And I talk about religion sometimes in this video. You get his own sense sometimes about his cosmology and his view on the world, and I suspect that he was a skeptic, if not an atheist, given that the harsh view that he presents sometimes of the world of religion. It's interesting to read. I mean, he's very careful. I mean, he's writing for his time. He's writing for an audience. He meant this book to be a commercial success, so he's got to be carefully mind his words. But he was very. You can't help it. Sometimes I'm sitting there and I read this stuff and I go, whoa, wait a minute. Nathaniel Hawthorne does the same thing in The House of Seven Gables. You're like, you read it, you go, wait a minute, you think thou protest too much, or something like that. That's what the saying go, right? You can't help, the writer can't help but reveal their true mind. Anyway, I highlighted in yellow here exactly such a one regarding his view of the ferocity of the humanity. Evelyn, if you're still there, you'll appreciate this, because I know that you're with your work with animals and dogs. Here it is. He's talking about the cruelty that's being inflicted upon this whale to gain the oil that will be used to light lamps. Now, the spermaceti oil that's used is of the highest quality, and they can get like a couple hundred barrels out of the whale, especially from the front portion of the whale. And in the chapter precedes this, he talks in great detail about how they do that, the actual process of getting the whale. And it's just all it's barbarism. It's just, oh man, this is awful. Anyway, here's the part that I illuminated. He says, he's talking about the whale, and it's an old whale, and it's one of its flukes is disabled. He describes it as having one arm, and he's blind because of, the whale is blind because of something is impairing his vision. He says, for all his old age, and then the purpose of this particular paragraph is to talk about the cost of the whale oil. For all his old age and his one arm and his blind eye, he must die the death and be murdered in order to light the gay bridals and other merrymaking of men, and here's the part I illuminated, and also to illuminate the solemn churches that preach unconditional inoffensiveness by all to all. He was jabbing then, Mr. Melville. To illuminate the solemn churches that preach unconditional inoffensiveness by all to all. That's the reason to read great literature, right? It's not to be entertained. It's to be challenged by great thinkers who can couch their challenges in a fantastic story. Man. Oh, I see. You thought I was leaving because your salutation. Yeah, I guess I stuck around to read a little bit. Evelyn says, I'm reading Plato's Republic. Is anyone else reading any interesting books? Reading the Life and Times of Horatio Nelson at the moment. I had that book in my possession. I got about a quarter of the way. I've read Plato's Republic, Evelyn. That's a great one, of course. I've read about a quarter of Nelson's of the Life and Times of Horatio Nelson. I had a volume that was, I think they're called Quartoro, the little tiny little ones, right? And I've been to, and I remember, as long as we're talking about Nelson, I remember going to see Nelson's column at Trafalgar Square when I was, one of the last times I was in London. What a life, right? What an experience. What a man. I mean, wow. That sounds like great reading. I wish I would see. That's, yeah, both of those books, man. Evelyn says, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, the story of Nelson alone is if you read through the Life and Times, or just the story of the man. And I would love to, again, sit in a pub or a coffee shop with you. Evelyn, come join us. Gerald and all the rest of you alike, and talk about, I would love to, one of the things I've wondered, Tim, is how Nelson was a man for his time, right? And how the British people embraced him, and he became a rallying point. No less than having a column, right? A rallying point for the idealism of what it meant to be British, right? Am I wrong? Am I off base that he kind of became that, kind of like, I guess, in a time George Washington was for us in America, or Abraham Lincoln, or any of the great monuments that we have in Washington, D.C., Washington's monument, Lincoln's monument. Here in Japan, we have those. There's a statue just, 3 kilometers away from where I stand right now to Tokugawa Ieyasu, goes on and on, the list goes on. I've heard good things about The Sea by John Banville. A hero here in the UK. Yeah. I saw the, I'll close with this one. I saw a video some time back, Tim, I guess every 9 years or so, they clean Nelson's column, which sounds kind of vulgar. And they have to erect a ladder that goes up, and they had a journalist climbing the ladder, and then they get to the top just above where it has the statue of Nelson, which I didn't realize was so big. And the ladder actually gets to the top, and there's the colonnade thing, the flourish at the top, and the ladder goes like this, and then up and over the top. What the? And you got to come back down that. That's amazing. It's a video I saw on YouTube. It was the times, I think. Nelson, Wellington in the UK, great figures. As to Dr. Johnson, right? I mean, a figure for the time. I would love to just sit, I would love to just sit and talk with you about this type of stuff. I mean, what was it about, men like them that made them the right men for their time? I mean, I can see Johnson. Johnson was like Kobe Bryant on a basketball court. I mean, just so above and so excelling beyond and above that no one, their greatness couldn't be questioned, right? Yes, they used to have steeplejack guys that would just use ropes up Nelson's column. Gee Louise. All right. Well, 36 minutes in. So we've talked about a lot more than just the meditation. This has been fun. It's been nice to have the banter back and forth. All right, everybody. I wish you all the best. Have a great day. And Evelyn, if you're still there, I am seriously thinking about resuming my Dr. Johnson reads. So maybe I'll be doing that in the near future. Thanks, Evelyn. Oh, you are there. All right, take care. Bye-bye. Bye, Robert. Bye, Tim. Bye, Gerald. Bye, all.